What's up guys, Jesse here. So I know I just did a little desk setup tour a couple of weeks ago, and if you haven't already checked that out, you should go do that. But since then, I've made a lot of changes, a lot of upgrades, and now I have what I'm going to call the ultimate hybrid PC Mac setup, and I am ready to share it with you guys. So just like last time, let's start this off by talking about the desk itself. It's the same one as last time, the electric sit-stand convertible desk by a company called Vivo. Basically, when I was looking for a standing desk, this was the cheapest one I could find on Amazon, and for the most part, it's pretty good. And if you guys don't have a standing desk already and you're kind of on the fence about getting one, I say go for it. I know the research isn't super definitive as far as the health benefits go, but just anecdotally speaking, it is way more pleasant to use, and I feel like it's helped me a lot with my posture and productivity. Now, this one specifically isn't the best one out there. The tabletop is a little bit shallow. It's only 24 inches deep, which is a little bit small for this type of table. And it can feel pretty cramped, especially when, as you guys can see, I have so much stuff. It also wobbles quite a bit when you get to the higher heights, and it just becomes a little bit distracting while typing. So if you're on a budget, this is a great option, but I think if you can afford a more expensive table, you should probably go for it. Okay, and next up, let's talk about the chair. And I know what you guys are thinking. Jesse, why are you talking about a chair? And the reason is, it's one of the best purchases I have ever made, and I need you guys to know about it. Like, as tech nerds, I feel like we always get excited about the latest smartphones, laptops, computers, headphones, all that stuff, but we forget about what's really more important than any of those things. Our bodies. And that's where this chair comes in. It's the Herman Miller X Logitech Embody Gaming Chair. So we all know who Logitech is, but if you haven't heard of Herman Miller, they basically make the best ergonomic office chairs that money can buy. And basically this collaboration with Logitech just makes a couple of mostly cosmetic changes to the already great Embody office chair to turn it into a quote-unquote gaming chair. And the main feature of this chair is the backrest, which has all of these little arms on it that can flex independently of each other to conform to the shape of your back, and it really does work. Like, legitimately, after using this chair for a couple of weeks, my back pain has almost completely disappeared, because unlike a lot of cheaper chairs, this really encourages you to sit into a more ergonomic position, which just makes all the difference in the world. And it also comes with a 12-year warranty, which kind of helps justify the high price tag. Now onto the actual tech of the setup. I've got two computers powering this. One of them is my 16-inch MacBook Pro, which has an i9, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and serves as my main workhorse computer that I use for video and photo editing. Overall, it's pretty great. I like the build quality, keyboard, trackpad, speakers, screen, all of that. My only complaint though is that the fans are excessively loud all the time. Like, sometimes I'll just be watching a YouTube video and then the laptop will start sounding like it's gonna take off. And honestly, if I do end up getting the M1 version of this, that will probably be the main reason, because other than that, I really don't have any complaints about it. On the right, mounted under the desk, I've got this HP Omen pre-built, which, yeah, I know, go ahead and roast me, but it has an i7 7700, GTX 1070, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I got a pretty good deal on it back in the day, and it does pretty much everything that I needed to, which is mostly just casual gaming. Been super obsessed with TFT recently, and before that, I played League, and neither of those really require a lot of horsepower. And before this whole chip shortage thing got started, I was thinking of upgrading the whole setup, but there's no way I can afford resale, so I just kind of shelved that idea. But I mean, basically the whole idea of this setup is that while I'm here, I can use both computers at the same time, because sometimes I'll just put in a big batch of HDR photos that'll need to be processed, or I'll render a video, and that'll kind of slow down the MacBook a lot, so while that's happening, I can use the PC for anything else I want to do. But then when I leave, all I have to do is unplug one cable and then I'm good to go. And then when I get back, all I have to do is plug in one cable to my MacBook and then I'm good to go as well. And one of the biggest things that makes this possible is this Thunderbolt port by Anker. I basically just plug in all of my peripherals, like my monitor and my speakers, into the dock instead of the MacBook itself, which just saves me a bunch of time. It also has 85 watt power delivery, which I was originally a little bit worried about because the MacBook can take in 100 watts, but in reality the laptop hardly ever uses that full power draw, so it's more than enough for everything I need to do. and it also has all the ports I really need, so it's a win-win. Plugged in there, I've got my speakers hooked up via a Y-splitter with 2 male heads, so I can basically have both my Mac and my PC hooked up to the same pair of speakers. So if I'm watching a video on my Mac and playing a game on my PC, I'll be able to hear the audio from the video and the sound effect from the game without any issues. And honestly, it works better than I was expecting, although one quirk is that the gain is kind of half, so you're gonna need to turn up the volume from the source, but it's really not that big of a deal, and it's still more than enough than I need. Now the speakers themselves are the PreSonus Aris 3.5 studio monitors, and honestly I'm just in love with these things. And for their size and price, I feel like you'd be very hard pressed to find anything that sounds this good. They are studio monitors, so they're pretty flat out of the box, but they have some knobs on the back that you can play around with, and the level of fidelity that you can get is pretty incredible for a speaker under $100. Plus they got the volume knob on the front as well as a headphone pass-through, which I just find super convenient. Now speaking of headphones, I've got the Bose noise cancelling headphones 700s, and they're just a really solid pair of noise cancelling headphones. And the main thing for me about them is just how comfortable they are. They angle the drivers away from the ears so that your ears never have to touch the drivers, which is usually the first point of discomfort for any headphone for me, so I can pretty much wear these forever. The sound is pretty mediocre but passable in my book, which is good enough for me. Now I've got them resting on this headphone stand from a company called Uppercase, and they sent this out to me for a video a while back, and they aren't sponsoring this video or anything, I just genuinely really liked it so I kept on using it. But basically the idea is that the circular design helps prevent creasing in the headphone band because it distributes the force over a wider area. And plus, I just think it looks cool. The mouse that I use is the ultra popular Logitech MX Master 3, and all I gotta say is it's popular for a reason. It's sculpted pretty much perfectly, and putting your hand on it just feels like a nice handshake. Tracking is good, and the horizontal scroll wheel just comes in really handy for video editing and navigating the timeline. The thing that makes it really ideal for this hybrid PC Mac setup though is this thing on the bottom. You can connect it up to 3 devices at a time and switch between them with just one button. And I also made sure to get a keyboard with that same functionality. This is the iQnix F96 Cat with Cherry MX Reds. And I feel like this board is the perfect in-between step for people who are maybe thinking about getting into the enthusiast keyboard market, but aren't really ready to dive in and fully spend all the time and money required for a custom build. But what makes it even more perfect for this setup specifically is that, like the MX Master, you can connect it to up to 3 devices at a time and switch between them very easily. It's also compatible with both Mac and PC. It uses a 96% layout, which basically lets it have most of the functionality of a full-size keyboard, i.e. has a numpad, but is squished down to a much smaller size. Now moving on to the star of the show, this is the newest addition to the desk setup, the 49-inch ultrawide by LG. I forget the model number, but I'll link it down below in the description along with everything else in this video. But this monitor is, I think, one of the best purchases I've made in quite a long time. It has a 32:9 aspect ratio and a resolution of 5120 by 1440, making it the equivalent of having two 27-inch 1440p monitors side by side, but with no bezel in between, meaning that you can use it like 2 monitors like I am, or if you want to, you can use it as one super ultra wide seamless experience. So the way I've got it set up is the MacBook is plugged in on the left side via HDMI, and on the right side I've got the PC plugged in via DisplayPort. And usually I have both computers displaying simultaneously and just switch my keyboard and mouse between either of the two, just depending on which one I'm actually using. And I know it'd probably make more sense just to use one computer at a time, but I just switch between the two so often that this kind of just makes more sense for me. Anyways, I've got the Ergotron HX monitor arm holding this thing up, which is on the pricey side for a monitor arm, but I had to make sure it could handle the weight of this 49-inch ultrawide. It's like 30 pounds without the stand, so it's pretty heavy. I'm glad I got it though, because the Ergotron handles the weight with no issues whatsoever. And plus, it also comes with a 10-year warranty, so this is the last monitor arm you're gonna have to buy for a decade. Now below the monitor, I've got this really cool wireless charging pad by a company called Nomad. And the reason it's cool is because unlike most other wireless chargers, you can place your device anywhere on this whole pad and it'll charge. And you can also have up to 3 devices at a time, so it makes it super convenient. It does only charge at a rate of 7.5 watts though, which is not the fastest, but it's enough. On the left side here, I have the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 audio interface, which I use to hook up my mic, which is the Sennheiser MKH416. And I love this mic. I think it sounds great. I use it to record all of my videos. And even though it is expensive, mic technology hardly ever changes, so I shouldn't really ever have to replace this. And last but not least, let's talk about the lighting, which just makes a huge difference in the whole mood of the setup. Sitting on top of the monitor, I have this LED light bar made by BenQ, and it just does a lot in lighting up the whole surface of the desk and really helps reduce eye strain from looking at this bright screen for long periods of time. And it also has an asymmetrical light beam so it doesn't shine onto the monitor, creating glare. Behind the monitor, I have this Govee light strip just slapped on there for some bias lighting, and if you guys don't know what that is, bias lighting just basically refers to any lighting that you put behind your monitor to light up the wall. And it kind of helps set the mood a little bit, but more importantly, it helps reduce eye strain, because usually eye strain is caused by the high contrast between your bright monitor and the dark wall. And by shining a light onto the wall, it kind of reduces the contrast and evens things out a little bit. And for that same reason, I've got this lamp sitting on top of the speaker just to add a little bit more ambient lighting. And last but not least, on this wall, I've got one of my favorite parts of this setup, my neon dumpling sign. It's not really up there for any particular reason. It's actually off most of the time because it makes a very small hissing sound when it's on, but I just thought it looked super cool and I just turned it on for videos, as you can see like up there. Anyways, that covers my ultimate hybrid Mac/PC setup. If you guys made it this far, I really appreciate you. Everything that I mentioned will be linked down below in the description, so you guys can check that out. And anything that I mentioned that I've also made a video on will be linked as well. Remember to smash that like button, and if you enjoy content like this, think about subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss anything. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!